Hello, everyone. Good evening and good present moment. Thank you very much, everyone, for your diligence and commitment and being able to offer each other the company to study and be present, to know the Dharma, to listen to the Dharma, to analyze the Dharma, and then try to see of its use and application and the benefit on Dharma is what is called actual study, whether you are doing through the reading yourself or listening formally like a traditional teaching like this. This kind of commitment is only available to those who have discipline and mindfulness to avail it. So we like to acknowledge and goodness of everyone and rejoice that. And now we will first do the prayers before we continue the teachings. As you know, when we are switching our mind to rejoice the Dharma and coming of the Buddha and having the Sangha, and most importantly our own wakefulness to connect with fellow Sangha. There's a lot of activities out there, but if one doesn't take the liberty and effort, of course, one can be drifted away by anything. So therefore, practicing refuge and formalizing refuge at the beginning of sessions is not just a formality, but it is actually makes our practice to have an actual form. And so when we honor that, we will remember to practice kindness and compassion and right view in all situations. So therefore we're going to listen and contemplate and be present with each other over the hour and a half we have, for not just temporal enjoyment of an evening. I'm sure you might even enjoy it. Why not? But it's not really. That is the main purpose of the thing. The main thing is that our mind and our thoughts are able to realize and see the truth and truthfulness of the teaching. And if we were to apply them in our life situation in certain corners of life and very challenging things, if we brought these teachings, and it will teach us how to handle those in a much more kindly and wisely and compassionately and thoughtfully than we are actually handling some things these days, whatever they might be. So teaching has to be made practical. So with this in mind, we do the refuge and 4 immeasurables before we start the teachings. Everyone, thank you. O yenda Buddha Dhamma Asanga Ate refuge la Dhamma by virtue Ayevendala Ashare Buddha Vajra and Buddha Dhamma Asanga Ate refuge la Dhamma by virtue Ayevendala Ashare Buddha Vajra and Buddha Dhamma Asanga Ate refuge la Dhamma by virtue Ayevendala Ashare Buddha Vajra. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and a cause of suffering. May they never part from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and a cause of suffering. May they know our powerful happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion of those never. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never from the happiness that another suffering. May they dwell equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to the net and far. According to the intelligence and greater position of it, the Dharma, Agrelo and Kama. So once again, well zooming everyone, and welcome and well done. Well done. Well done that you're all present here, giving your full attention to the Holy Dharma. And I have the great joy to be able to facilitate that. But what I'm facilitating is very well prepared. It was taught by the Buddha, meditated by the Mahasiddhas, explained by the Panditas, translated by millions of scholars, and then printed in many redactions from Sanskrit into Prakrit, and then to Khotanese language and Chinese language and Tibetan language, and memorize them, and then first in the teachings of the Buddha as the Buddha Vajra, then in the Shastras, which are the treatises by Indian masters, starting from maybe some early master like Buddha Ghosha in the 1st century onwards, all the way down. When we talk about Asanga, who is the author of these texts, we're talking about 4th century. So I'm not having to make up things or try to prepare something in my closet. The river is flowing. I just have to turn the tap on. I don't have to. I just have to. I'm translating these verses each week, which is very beautiful karma for me, because there are some few translations, and I'm always like to try my own effort. Not that mine is better or something, but at least try to train myself, because that way I'm not only reading the Tibetan text carefully, but also try to translate it in a language in which I'm trying to communicate to, and you are trying to listen in. So then of course I have then there's a commentary like this, written in 15th century by Rongten Shejak Kunrik. Then there are many other commentaries before that. Asanga wrote his own commentary. There are a number of commentaries in India. And there are other commentaries in Tibetan already, and some of them are translated. And so therefore, but nevertheless, these are not kind of paperback books that you'll find in your local bookshop and you buy and you find, wow, it's not that. These things are deeply coded, and sometimes we don't know what the hell they're talking about. So unless you read the commentary that the Indians has written way of writing very cryptically, they don't really tell much. So I think sometimes they write this as a mnemonically, themselves remember because they're so well versed in the scriptures. So they write these things so that they remember because they read the whole sutras and then they write this. But for ordinary novice, they don't know what they're talking about. Even you have the root text, root text. Anyway, so when I come to the class like this, I have already spent a good 3 hours at least on just getting this bit translation first, and then also and reading through very small print of this text, and then in Tibetan these texts like this, all the root texts are interspersed in the commentary. All the root verses, interlinear. So I have to highlight the root text because then root text and the commentary comes through. Yeah. So it's like writing a commentary, and the whole of this root text is sitting there in maybe half of each page, one verse. So it's a very interesting exercise. That's how they do. I think the language is beautiful, designed by Manjushri and edited by another Manjushri. So all these Manjushri blessed, these people working to ensure these teachings are kept in such literature. We are currently going through the Mahayana Uttaratantra Shastra. Mahayana, because these particular sutras are sutras that are common to other Buddhists, like Theravada and Pali sutras. Pali sutras are very different. They're all the sutras that are in Pali language, but some of the subjects are not necessarily Theravadan. Some of the subjects they do definitely sort of cross over Mahayana teaching, but they're all Pali sutras. But in the Pali sutras, they don't have any Mahayana sutras. All the Mahayana sutras has been translated from Sanskrit or sometimes Prakrit. These are two ancient Indian languages. And during the time of the Asanga in the 4th century, both Prakrita and Sanskrit, Abhabramsha and Pishatsi, there were 4 major languages. But there were other 720 languages in India in which these were all taught. And so largely all the Mahayana literatures were in Sanskrit and Prakrit. And so no doubt Asanga would have written in Sanskrit. And he wrote that in verses. And there's 4 chapters, and the subject matter that is covered sometimes people call Buddha nature. They think the main subject is Buddha nature, but it's called 7 Vajra points. And of the 7 Vajra points, we have already covered the first 3 Vajra points of the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. Each of them are Vajra points. These 3 are the result that we wish to achieve Buddhahood. We wish to achieve the Buddha Vajra, Vajra point of the Buddha, the enlightenment of the Buddhahood. But to attain the Vajra point of the Buddhahood, you need to gain the Dharma. You need to receive the scriptural Dharma and the realizational Dharma. So you have to get the Dharma, Vajra point of the Dharma, not only in scripture but also in your realization. So the Dharma has to be realized. It's realization of the truth that's taught in the Dharma that makes you to attain Buddhahood. Buddhahood is not an isolated result. It is a result of practicing Dharma. So that's why the second Vajra point is the Dharma. And then the third Vajra point, if for possibility for you and I to access the Dharma point, Dharma Vajra point, is there need to be living Sangha, Sangha Vajra point. So the Sangha, ever since Shakyamuni Buddha taught, till now, we're talking about 2,560 plus years of history of lineage, succession of master to disciple, and then those disciples become master, and then they become master to their disciples. And amazing, you can see if you have lived long enough, like 40, 50 years in the Dharma, you can see all those disciples becoming masters, all the masters are disappearing. Or your colleagues previously were your colleague classmates, and they're starting to become good teachers, and the masters themselves passed away. And you can see our good students are trying very hard to hold the legacy of their amazing teachers, and almost same respect as Shariputra would have to Buddha, because there is that kind of, because what they're giving to each other, passing down, is exactly what the Buddha gave. And so therefore that reference the Sangha. So the Sangha Vajras, the Vajra point of Sangha, is extraordinarily important. Our friendship, our respect, our kindness, our understanding to each other. We are just fellow conventional, deluded Sangha. We are deluded Sangha. If deluded Sangha doesn't get any help from other less deluded, then we be all deluded. So some are less deluded, some are deluded, but they just don't worry too much about it. They still think being kind to each other is more important than focusing each other's pluses and minuses. It's amazing, really. When there is a good Sangha, there's a lot of understanding, there's a lot of acceptance. But where there is no robust Sangha, there is a lot of judgment. There's a lot of impatience, a lot of rejections, a lot of how dare they are like that, and then they just walk off, and then there's no sign of the Sangha there because people are not be able to practice kindness to each other, who are all relatively deluded, who has karma, who has affliction. So ordinary convention Sanghas are all deluded. Just question is, in what? Everybody is a specialist in different delusions. Some are very good at anger, others amazing good at just sadness, Poor me, There wouldn't be anyone like me in this whole world. Others are just so righteous. How dare he do that? Just can't stand it. Everybody's potentially suited to become candidate to study Dharma, because we all have karma and afflictions. But when we meet the Dharma, we can see small but slow but steady progress making in our mind. Slowly, like Asanga realized that if the person can use a small piece of bird feather to wipe on the big iron rod to make a needle out of it, then he realized maybe my impatience is still too much. And then he went. Then he motivated. So the Sangha is very important. Particularly, they are more deluded than realized Sanghas. There's more deluded Sanghas, and then, realized Sanghas are few. Because to be realized Sangha, they have to have good fortune, good merit, good discipline, and good merit to be able to stay still and commit to practice and study, And if you are not surrounded or supported by very like-minded people, most people just don't want to do it. So you can see in a new frontiers land where Dharma has not yet spread, of course, Sangha has to be even more. Few Sangha, but still have to be very, very gentle with each other. That's what the Buddha nature is all about. How to not forget that everybody has Buddha nature, no matter how deluded and uncooperative they may seem like. There still are sentient beings who are all have the Buddha nature. So we talked about last week about the purpose of teaching Buddha nature, yeah, because we are going to finish this chapter today. This is for those people who are watching just this very episodes. There are another 11, so maybe not 11, about nine videos or nine topics, teachings on this already on the YouTube. So you're most welcome to watch those, and then we will be continuing and next few terms on the remaining of it. So as I mentioned just then, we are talking right now the purpose of discussing the Buddha nature, because Buddha nature is the fourth topic, fourth Vajra point. Having talked about Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, then in order to realize the triple gem, to realize the gem of this enlightenment, you have to take the ownership of the fourth Vajra point, which is the Buddha nature. So the bulk of this chapter, which we've been going through, has been all talking about the importance of Buddha nature. So we talked about importance of talking about Buddha nature briefly, and then two questions. So which we of the questions, the first question was already answered in the last week. Which was talking about the benefit of having the Buddha nature, that we can do a lot of help. Of the two questions, we have done the first question. The second answer of the question is covered in verse number 158. 58. So that's why we have the handout there, verse number 158. It says here that ultimate truth is in every aspect unconditioned. So when it refers to the ultimate truth, refers to the Buddha nature. Yeah, the Buddha nature is the ultimate truth that all sin, and it is in every respect not conditioned. Yeah. So it's not conditioned like other things, So Buddha nature is not conditioned; it's unconditioned. So therefore, when you understand the nature of the Buddha nature that is unconditioned, because this is talking about the quality of the Buddha nature, intrinsic nature of the Buddha nature is unconditioned. Unconditioned. Meaning that because if things are conditioned, there is a time that didn't exist, and like say to create this bell, there was a time this was not bell, there was no bell. So there was a time this was just an ordinary iron ore, and then it is smelted, and then put again and again, and then put in a mold, But the mold isn't just a cup, All the letters, all the designs has to be molded. Mold are very difficult to make, and then you have to pour the thing in there, which was not bell. It was non-bell. From non-bell into non-bell, and then pouring the liquid, and then once it has been set, then it comes out. Then they clean, they polish, and they put the handle, and they put the clapper. They can't do all this together. The clapper is held not by a clapper, but another string. So when all these are conditioned together, all these are joined together, which are non-bell, become bell. The what maybe previously was just a piece of mixture of metals, Maybe it was just 2 kilos of metal, and then they melted, and then they made half a dozen bells from that, and that's exactly what it is. That's what things are conditioned. It wasn't like that. So Buddha nature has never a time when it's not Buddha nature, never a time that it was produced. There wasn't a time it was produced. There wasn't a time it was formed. There wasn't a time that it was being made. It is totally unconditioned. So, unconditioned. And therefore, so the afflictions, now there are three things. The afflictions like say, for us, however unconditioned our Buddha nature is, we still have afflictions. Under the sway of the afflictions, we perform actions. Yeah. So the afflictions and actions and their fruitions, meaning the results of the afflictions and actions are said to be conditioned. Yeah, said to be conditioned, and so that's why we are grappling with them. We're grappling with these clouds. When they say they are like clouds, they mean they are conditioned. You could have a perfectly blue sky, a couple of hours, and all of a sudden the sky is conditioned, and all the steam from the ocean or whatever causes, and all goes up in the sky, and it became a huge dark clouds, and you couldn't see the sky at all. Like that, there is a storm of afflictions in the mind of the individuals, yeah? And as a result of it, they are saying things, they're doing things, they're feeling things, and they're all creating actions, and then they're all in misery of hurt, sad, and they're doing harmful things. So the fruition. However many things this you see, you witness, you are experiencing, you who know that you have Buddha nature should see these things as no less than a cloud. This is very important. So we're talking about the purpose now. Purpose of why we want to teach Buddha nature. That you have Buddha nature, but all these afflictions and actions and what people did to you, or what are you doing to yourself or not doing, all these, even their sufferings, even you are really hurt by it for days and days, but don't think these are permanent. These are clouds, The clouds does not stay long. Clouds are not nature of the sky. Sky never get tainted by cloud. Sky is never covered by clouds. It's we who are looking below this cloud. Then we see the clouds, sky is in trouble. So therefore, Buddha nature is never harmed, or never sort of tarnished or rusted. So we have to think like that. Amazing thing about that. Like two people are good friends, and no matter what he does, it's just you don't mind. Your friendship is like some people, parents, children, family relationship like that. No matter how much the other one carries on, does he things, your love and unconditional knowledge of the other, and your willingness so good, because your ultimate truth, your Buddha nature is not conditioned. It's unconditional. People want unconditional loving kindness. People don't want conditional, obligatory loving kindness. So that's why this verse is the second part of the answer, is that purpose of teaching Buddha nature, which is ultimate truth, is so that we are able to see the actions and afflictions and their results as clouds, and breathe kindly, and not think this is going to go forever, and you will never have your blue sky back. And I don't think like that. This will be over soon, as long as I don't whip it up. It's very good, how did I get this in the first place? Oh, maybe I did some conditioning. Yeah, you conditioned it, and when you uncondition it, when you decondition it, you can switch off the heater. Heater is so high, you're sweating. Now turn it off. So you can actually do that. So that's what the purpose of, we are talking about the purpose of it. That is so that we are able to see someone else's afflictions and their wrong actions and their wrongdoing, not him. Just a cloud, Don't lump the person with his doing or with his anger or even effect that it has to you. It's all conditioned by many, many things, and therefore it's only in the deceptive truth it looks like the person is angry just to you, or things like that. Because even you are a cloud, let alone what they're doing to you is a cloud. Deep down, both they and you are both unconditioned Buddha nature. So when you're able to do this, are said to be their fruition are said to be like a cloud. So there is no so-called permanent result. They say, "Oh, he did this to me. It will never go away. We will never be friends." People say like that. That's a devastating thing to say. I will never talk to him anymore. Some people say that. They blatantly believe that too. Because they're so angry. You have 110% reason to be angry, because what the person did is real. It's not conditioned. Conditioned means he's powerless. He's beyond his ability. He himself is conditioned by something else. When somebody was violent, and when they knew how he was brought up, what kind of background suffering he has over the last 10, 15 years, so when they know why he's violent, people understand, poor thing, he just doesn't know how to do any differently. He's so conditioned by where he was brought up, by the hostility he faced, by the denigrating he faced, or looking down their face, or he's conditioned by that. So instead of thinking what he did this to me is bad, what conditioned him to do that in the first place? He must have lost his mind. And actually he has. So therefore, you develop compassion to them instead of, so then you are able to, you're not going to be tainted by their actions and the fruition of their action. Why? Because they're all like clouds. They're all like clouds. And why are they similar to clouds? And they say the afflictions are like clouds. So they're now showing these three things separately. Afflictions are like cloud. Actions are like experience in a dream. The aggregates, which are fruition of afflictions and action, are like illusion and apparition. Now, these are all very, very important Mahayanistic analogy to show that the afflictions are like cloud, and the clouds are conditioned by non-clouds. Yeah, so someone's anger is conditioned by non-anger, desire. Someone who's angry is because they desire something. They desire you to be punctual, they desire you to be reliable, whatever, and they think you are not being able to be punctual is the cause of, but they desire. If you didn't desire anything, you wouldn't be so angry. So desire is causing anger. There's no truly existing anger. Anger is caused by desire. So this is why it's very important. The clouds is caused by steam of the sea, isn't it? Steam of the sea and the heat in the atmosphere, and all of these things, where did the clouds all of a sudden become so manufactured in the sky? There's a machine in the sky that produces clouds. Some people wish they could make some clouds and rain, but they don't know how to. The nature has so many causes and conditions that creates clouds from non-clouds. So someone's anger towards you is not anger. It's conditioned by non-anger, desire, and ignorance. And you may name it any more subtle: self-importance, grasping, aversion, high and unrealistic expectation, and all of this. So therefore, when somebody is angry, you should see, it's a clouds. What causes clouds? Cloud doesn't look like clouds. They're actually water. They're actually water. If they go high up enough, they become water. Otherwise, they become sort of still clouds, and they couldn't quite fall down as water because they haven't become cold yet. But the clouds is not clouds on the sea, On the sea is a different. So see somebody's anger and not truly existing like clouds. Clouds exist from non-clouds and conditioned by other causes and condition. And likewise, someone storming you with anger or yourself very angry, don't lump that, it's me, I'm doing this. No, you're conditioned by you want this so bad, therefore you didn't get it and you got angry. So then you should now modify your desire. If you just turn off the desire bit, if you turn off the desire, then the clouds of anger just precipitate. The clouds doesn't stay long, and so therefore, seeing afflictions, whether it's anger, say, well, you might say desire. Okay, you have strong desire. You want something, whatever you want. Your desire is so strong. Why? Your desire is coming from ignorance, thinking it's desirable when it's undesirable. So desire comes from desiring undesirable things, and ignorant of undesirability, but desiring just that. So desire comes from also desire is not truly existing. Desire is like clouds. It's conditioned by ignorance. And so on. So therefore, the afflictions are not the nature of the mind, nor is the clouds the nature of the sky. See, that's the whole idea. When it says the afflictions are the cloud, and your mind is like the sky. Think of that. Your mind is the sky. So be big and vast, Actions are like experience in a dream, because when the conditioned by various afflictions, then one loses the clarity of one's mind, and then it looks like the mind becomes temporarily, adventitiously, completely stirred by the clouds. Yeah, and therefore the clouds like afflictions taint your mind, obscures your mind. It's like spread. It's spread all over your room, spread all over your thing, and your mind is completely lost in it. You lost your mind. It looks like mind has been lost because the afflictions are completely tainting everywhere, and we don't realize they're adventitious. We think it's going to be there forever. If you realize the afflictions are like clouds, then your mind will starting to yield its vastness, and then what you will do under the cloud will not happen. But when you lose your mind to the cloud as being real, then you will do aggressive things, say terrible things, feel hurt or angry, and all of these actions. The actions are like in the dream, So you don't even know you're doing it in dream, You don't realize it's just a dream, because you're conditioned by sleep, If you're not sleeping, you wouldn't be doing that, But because we are sleeping, we don't know it's a dream. But when we are waking, and when you know the Buddha nature, wakefulness of Buddha nature, when you're cultivating the cultivated Buddha nature, then you know it's not the mind, it's just the cloud-like nature. They are all adventitious. Because of that, you will see all the actions someone did. Maybe they scream at you, they did this. You see them as dream. Oh, I was dreaming. I fall asleep to my selfishness. I fall asleep to them thinking what they did is truly existing. Now they are woke up. They are all conditioned. It's just question is what I can do to uncondition it. It's totally dependent arising. Totally dependent arising. It's what I think is more important than what it is. See, so because of that, now you have the ability to know that they are just like experience in a dream. You haven't lost anything because you're not attached to the sleep. That you have something. If you're attached to something as real, then you will lose a lot. Why you suffer loss? It's not because the thing is real, but you think it's so precious. When tomorrow you realize, wake up, I wanted to change my dining table. I had enough. This one, I will order that one. Oh, you saw that. Oh, just order it, and then you can't get rid of the dining hall in the home. Yes, you put in an edge strip, don't you? Yeah, you put in an edge strip. Hopefully, someone will take it away. It's amazing. Now, when you switch your mind, when you switch your mind attachment to it, then it's a good. Then whoever takes it's a great blessing. But before that, it was if it might be something you will lose. You might even put it in the home contents insurance. It was one of the things you insured for. But all of a sudden, it became part of trash. So what is conditioning? One to be so valuable that you have to insure. Another to be the something you put on a nature strip. When you decide not to have desire and attachment, it's amazing. When you have the fitness to let go, like he is. See, so when you think it's not mine, it's like a dream. Oh, I woke up. I don't want to get attached with it. It's not mine. It's anybody can help. Anybody can help. A couple of weeks ago, I saw one of my opposite neighbor put a single bed on the nature strip. Not that I needed one, but I know someone who needs it. I said, "Do you really want it? There's a good bed over there." And they drove all the way and went to look at it. You wouldn't believe. There was the guy next door who put there was hoping that someone would take away. Because it's not desirable for him, It's no longer desirable. Because he decided not to. He wasn't get away with it, So it's like amazing. What is a thing? And a thing is only how you. If you are sleepy, you will dream according to the sleep. So therefore, all the actions that you think you do or people do, you should see them as just a dream, and don't regard them as no greater significance than dream. And when why you have to do this? When you do this, you will see others who are not able to do this. Then you have compassion. They don't have the wisdom, knowing this is not the real thing. This is just a dream. Then you don't have aversion to what they do, but you have compassion. You have the power of compassion to see the people doing things unconsciously under the sway of the cloud of affliction, and then they have lost themselves, thinking it's all real, and they don't know it's a dream. And because of that, you have the consciousness, compassion to free yourself. Wake up. Buddha means to awaken one. I mean, we don't want to have an awakened one only. We should have few awakened ones. We want to have awakened ones. We want to pluralize the awakened ones. Say all of a sudden you're able to let go. And because of that, whatever your experiences are just dreams, and when you attach to it, they're created by mistaken, wrong views, thinking they're real, thinking they are truly existing, and so on. So when you have the fruition of the actions, which the fruition of the afflictions, when the affliction and karma both ripen together, and then they create actions. Action has consequences, and then you suffer them in your aggregates. See, it says that, and the fruition of the affliction and actions are like aggregates. So aggregates is the end result. Aggregate of end result is my feeling, my body, my perception. I saw you do that. They don't know. It's their perception. They think I saw as something independently out there. They don't realize perception is a dream. Perception is a dream. When you don't know it, then you become completely aggregated. You become completely lumped into your perception. You can't even see that you are dreaming, and then you become ripened. Then you become feel hurt. The aggregate feeling, hurt or upset or harmed or whatever, condescend or whatever it is. You're just stuck in there and you stay there. That's the kind of fruition. So the fruition, the result of these sufferings, all the sufferings of karma and affliction is usually experienced in aggregates. They say, my body, why did you do that to my body? Why did you do that to my feeling? Why did you do that? And so why did you say that to my ears? Why did you show it to me like that? Why did you show the root finger to me? You know, it doesn't matter you show the root finger everywhere, but showing to you is an awful thing. You know, oh, the root finger is in this hand, but couldn't they know? But has to protrude. I think has to protrude towards truly existing you. Because like this is no root finger there. See, there's no truly exist. It's conditioned by not having the other four fingers. If all other four fingers like this is not called the root finger, you know. Even like this, Tibetan is very good kind of respectful gesture. But what if you have all the other fingers go like this? Do you think you get hurt by that? Oh, you're dreaming, you will be hurt. You wouldn't believe how many people hurt by this finger. Because they are that childish. They are so much lost in the aggregated perception. I said, oh, you saw that? I got a photograph to prove you did that. So we're talking about the fruition of aggregate or perception. If the other person sees, they didn't see. They say, I didn't see. What are you talking about? But we saw it so well that we can keep it for the rest of life. And take a photo and frame it up. And this is what he did to me. Yes. And aggregated perception, zoom, is firmly established now. Now it's less likely to shift that person anymore as a kind father that he was, or generous mother, all the years. You just remember the root finger, and that's it. You forget all the things they did with that 20 years, 30 years of their dedication as a father to you. You just remember that finger. And that's the fruition of aggregate perception. People are suffering perception. They think they're suffering somebody else's action. They don't realize their own aggregated perception. Because perception in Buddhism have visual perception, but visual perception is not that because you have the eye, you need the form, and you have the eye organ and mental consciousness. When the mental consciousness doesn't lend its attention, the visual perception doesn't see it. It sees something else, It doesn't see it. Because if it's anger and self-importance are with the visual perception, then say, why did you do that to me? And they think so to you only, But in some cultures, they might actually do the gestures out of respect. Who knows, So it's all conventional, all relative, but yet. Person become ripened with perception. He saw that, and therefore he thinks that's his father. His father did this to me, and that's it. And they are suffering the fruition of aggregated perception, visual perception. But he was blind would help, If he was blind, he can't say, "You show me root finger." There's no truly existing root finger. If you have no eye or no mental consciousness, so there's no. You see, so that shows that person become attached to what person he did is him. So therefore, truly existing person exists in the perceived gesture. This is called the fruition into the aggregated perception. Like a lot of people, amazing. Their opinion of somebody is what they're suffering. They're not suffering anything but their own affliction of the perception, and they are aggregated into it. They're lumped into it. Aggregate means lumped, Aggregate means lumped. So we have to learn how to de-lump it, how to disaggregate it. We have to de-lump the aggregate. That's if you have Buddha nature. You cannot be compassionate if you don't have the wisdom. Compassion is not just emptying your pocket or giving your seat to somebody. Of course, it is a small act of compassion. But big act of compassion is learning how to de-lump the perception. For you, for them, for everyone. Then the Buddha nature is now awakening. Buddha nature is awakening, So, because it is created by the mistaken perceptions, it therefore lumps them into aggregates. And we are only suffering our aggregates in our body, in our perception, what you heard, what you saw, People always suffering from what they saw. What they saw is emptiness. But they don't see empty of the thing. They think it's truly existing. They don't realize what they saw is a dream, and it's conditioned, it's a cloud. They see it's truly existing. So that's why this kind of teaching is taught for the purpose of helping people to delump the perceptions. So that the aggregated perception is not aggregated. So perception is emptiness, emptiness is perception. Emptiness is no other than perception, perception is no other than emptiness. So you have to use this fourfold emptiness meditation on all four aggregates and then learn to delump. If you do that, then then you realize all your perceptions like illusion and apparition. See? He says actions are, the aggregates which are the fruition of afflictions and actions are like illusion and apparitions. They are like mirages. The mirage is conditioned by certain time of the day, isn't it? Particular landscape, and so on. There's no true mirages are there. Everything's apparition. Everything's colored by your own thoughts, your own unconscious thoughts, your unconscious. Because you're not conscious, you're sleepwalking. And sleep talking. Sleepwalking, sleep talking. You can do everything in sleep, We're so capable in sleep talking. We are so capable of sleepwalking. We are so capable of seeing nothing with blind eyes. We could hear so much with the deaf ears. We could smell so much with no nose. We can taste so much with no tongue. So we have to help each other to delump the perceptions, So why say it's there like illusion and apparitions when you know how to delump them? Because they are all conditioned. Because they're conditioned. Today I made a little interesting discussion with someone who's promoting one of the candidates, independent. I was going into the pre-polling, and this gave me this said, please vote this lady. She's independent. I said, if I vote her, she's not independent. She'd be dependent on my vote. The lady said, what? just a small exchange, Small exchange. I said, really, she's independent? She said, she's really independent. Nothing to do with labor, nothing to do with labor. I said, I'm told the indigenous will tip the balance. So interesting. So we usually don't think what we're saying. We're not conscious. We are always lumping. We are always aggregating, and we are not learning how to delump them. We have to learn how to delump them. Buddhism is all about how to delump them, so that it's only conditioned by things. So somebody does something foolish and really hurtful, very nasty. You just say, he's conditioned by his morning, his week, his life at work, his difficulty with other things, his poor thing, his conditioned by all. You do this, you wouldn't believe how much do not get offended by what they did. You get help by what you thought. You get help by what you thought, not harmed by what they appear to do. Why? They're apparitions. Why? You have the wisdom, discerning reality as it is, not what it appears. Things definitely appears, Things definitely appears, there's a story of this little monkey, he went into a Tibetan temple, and he got inside. The caretaker wasn't there, and Tibetan temples are full of butter lamps. So the monkey was really, he doesn't get a lot of butter out there in the wild. He went in there, he went, they got really cute fingers, like human fingers, but hairy, So they scooped some butter from he really felt it wasn't too good to go near the weak. Because the butter lamps are very big, so he had ample room for him to help himself. So he really enjoyed the butter, The caretaker was sit down there coming. He saw that. He was so amazed by this. He was just monkey was enjoying the butter so much. He doesn't want to disturb him, and disturb him. So the monkey was really enjoying the butter like this. And then he went and, because he liked it so much, he went and licked with his tongue. And then the lamp burned his face. He didn't know the butter is burnable. Because he doesn't see fire. He only see butter. See, perception is like that. So when the caretaker came in, the monkey ran, and his face was completely burned. All the hairs all burned. And his lips and nose all covered in butter. It looks very shiny. But all over here is sooty. But the monkey didn't know. His perception was completely deluded. He didn't see fire. He only saw butter that he can lick and enjoy. Yeah, that's just a small example, But he's probably more happy with the butter than the hair that he lost. So he's still dreaming, He's still dreaming. He will try next time, If you have any mice in your house, you know what, They don't think it's your house, okay? You think it's your house, they are invading. See, the perception is very, very commanding. Demanding too. You give so much power to the perception, he want to steal you, or make a hole in your socks, or maybe tear some pages. What's the big deal about that? You often shred the pages anyway, so a few pages being chewed up by your mice, and why you have to be so like that? So next time you will see whether you're lumping with perception or whether you're delumping the perception. Maybe you see there's an apparition, or you see them as real. If you're attached to the book and your things, it's a real problem, real nuisance. But if you're practicing Dharma, it's not a real nuisance. It's a real practice. It's an opportunity to practice. So in short, these two verses says that all the afflictions and the karma and the result are all momentary. All are momentary. So adventitious. They're all momentary. Therefore, but the nature of the Buddha nature will not be tainted or burned or covered in oil by that at all. It is completely untaintable. So you should. That's the second reply answer to this question. So now to elaborate that a little bit in connection, it says formally it was taught. So formally it was taught, meaning that the Buddha, when you look at the teachings of the Buddha nature, Buddha didn't teach the Buddha nature straight away in the first sermon. First there was Four Noble Truths, in which he says there was suffering, there was cause, there was a way to end it, there was a path. It was all about, the first First sermon was there was things, there are real problems, and their causes are real, and there's a way, there's a path, there is a cessation. Wow, it's all about what is. So the first sermon was all about what thing is, why things are there, why things are caused, and all of that. So when it says, formerly it was taught, formerly Buddha taught that there was things, there was affliction, there was suffering, there was a cause, and there is a path, there is a cessation. And then also he said, everything's empty. Later on when he was turning the wheel of Dharma, he taught everything was empty. So it's referring to that. Formerly it was taught. The very teaching of the perfection of wisdom itself was taught, relatively speaking. Then later on, the word again is used. Again, the presence of Buddha nature is taught in the supreme continuum. So I translate the word Uttaratantra as supreme continuum. Supreme continuum because Buddha nature is within our continuum, is the highest form of continuum, best form of continuum, most unconditional, intact, immutable, perfect. So that is what is called. So there are quite a lot of, we mentioned it, there were about 8 sutras, remember? There were 8 sutras, remember? We went through the source, 8 sutras in which Buddha taught, and where there is about Buddha nature. And this was taught later, only later. And so Mahayana sutras are much later than the Theravadan sutras, because majority of the disciples were always Theravadan mentality, and those who could understand and fathom the understanding of emptiness, these things were all bodhisattvas and mahabodhisattvas. So the audience were not the kind of a same kind. So therefore, like the Buddha get the turning of the wheel of Dharma first, second, and third, throughout his 45 years of ministry of teaching, there were certain teachings, were relative teachings, conventional teachings, and mundane teachings, And there were other teachings that is talking about the ultimate truth, and even emptiness was taught before the Uttaratantra. So word again may refer to that. Having taught the relative and ultimate teaching of emptiness, again the presence of Buddha nature is taught in the supreme continuum. Supreme continuum in the later Mahayana sutras, the sources which we already mentioned, in order to abandon the 5 hindrances. Those 5 hindrances we already talked last week. You remember we talked about 5 hindrances last week. So the amazing thing is, so that people are otherwise very much hindered by these 5 problems towards each other, either looking down on others, or very faint-hearted themselves or whatever. So that's why those 5. In order to abandon the 5 hindrances that comes even from meditating on the other formal paths. People say, oh, he's like that. He's never going to be, people totally dismiss it. Someone has got never a chance, So the Mahayana is, particularly Uttaratantra Shastra is looking after sentient beings from judging and making negative comparison each other, but seeing the universality of the Buddha nature to all sentient beings. This is amazing. So that's the purpose. So that therefore concludes the purpose of discussing the Buddha nature in order to abandon the 5 hindrances. Now, from here onwards, from the verse number 161, we're going to talk about the disadvantages of not hearing the Buddha nature. People who have not heard or understood the Buddha nature. So to highlight that, it says, not having heard this, meaning people who have not heard the existence of Buddha nature, the natural Buddha nature, and cultivated Buddha nature, not having heard this, bodhicitta will not arise, because those people who have no karma or no dharma that brings them the good fortune to hear about the Mahayana teaching, they will not give rise to bodhicitta. Bodhicitta will not arise in some people. It doesn't mean all people, all the people. Some people whose faint-hearted mind, whose the faint-hearted mind is thereby self-loathing, looking down upon themselves by saying, I'm like this, and then again becoming aggregated. This is my feeling, this is what I failed, this I don't do, this is how I messed things up, this is how I blundered. There's a lot of blundering themselves with actions. They failed, they didn't do well. People think they are their actions, whether they did good or bad. That's dangerous, Even our success is not us. Even our success is conditioned by your years of education, your 20, 30 years of your sweat and tear of your parents. All your success is not truly existing from your side. It's all conditioned by many things, your education, your colleagues, your friends who gave you the first job. Someone who at least even called you for an interview, So all these are conditioned, but yet people aren't thinking like that, They think I'm what I failed, I'm what I did, you are what you did to me, and they're aggregating the aggregated perception, volition. Someone what they did. If they didn't have, if they haven't heard this, they haven't heard the Buddha nature, then they will faint-heartedly look down upon themselves, and they will also put down others because they did one thing wrong or two things wrong. They think that's it. You just condemn them, and that's it. Wouldn't believe how many people have condemned each other, and because they are thinking like this. They're thinking like this. They're lumping. They're lumping each other like that. They will not give rise bodhicitta. They will not think of kindness to others because they have so much ill will, so much misunderstanding, so much anger, so much as if the other wronged you, and they are that, but nothing else but that. When they do that, then their mind is so faint-heartedly losing the spirit to generate bodhicitta towards him or towards her. You may practice bodhicitta with animals, you may practice bodhicitta with your pets, but you will not practice bodhicitta with sentient beings who have burnt faces, who lost his hair in the fire. Good. They will not give rise bodhicitta. So that's the danger. If you don't know about Buddha nature, then you will think that's it. I won't have anything to do with you, and that's it. You will not give rise to bodhicitta. Because they are disturbed by the fault of the self-contempt, and they are very, very, very doubtful or unfriendly towards themselves and whoever they might be connected to. So this is that's highlighting the demerit, the demerit. So these are so next few verses going on all about that, self-contempt. When bodhicitta is cultivated, some people think I'm superior, So, and they become arrogant and indulge to discriminate against those who have not cultivated bodhicitta. And that's the danger. If you say, oh, we are Mahayanas, we have bodhicitta. Oh, they don't. They practice just for themselves, and look down upon them. If you have heard, the important teachings of Buddha nature, you will never look down upon other people and their spiritual practice, let alone our Theravadan brothers. I feel sometimes Mahayana is a little narrow, arrogant. Not Mahayanas. Mahayanas not arrogant. Some people who think they are Mahayanas, and arrogance destroy their Mahayananess. They have to be. Mahayana should be very, very servant. Mahayana should be big-hearted, not small-minded, I'm superior, indulge, discriminate against those who have not cultivated bodhicitta. Maybe some people never talk about bodhicitta. Yeah, they don't. Because they don't have the concept of bodhicitta. And we think they have no Buddha nature, because they never have... They don't have bodhicitta consciously cultivated, but doesn't mean they don't have Buddha nature. They still have Buddha nature. When you have not heard the Buddha nature, you tend to discriminate on the face value and then become very biased, arrogant of yourself, contemptuous to others, and then belittling others. So this is talking about the demerit of oneself not having heard the teachings on Buddha nature. So we can definitely say, now we are not going to do that. Even others who do not practice Dharma, others who have never want to practice Dharma, we still know they have Buddha nature. They still have kindness. They still have humanity. They still have motherly love for their youngs. They may not go Kora, circumambulation in the temple. They may not join you on Wednesday night. But doesn't mean they still have no good cause to do for their own youngs and elderly and so on. They are just as doing as many goodness as them. So we can rejoice. This is why he saw this Dalai Lama such an example. He's able to embrace everyone, treat everyone as brother and sister, whether they are in religion or not. He go with them. He sees them all as another human being, and he doesn't say another Buddha nature. He doesn't say those jargons, But what is enabling him to act like that? Because he sees everybody has this basic goodness, remaining dormant in themselves. However they might be shrouded and covered and masked by some of the differences, they still are there. So his own ultimate view is so universally able to perceptive of all these things. So this kind of pure perception is caused by knowing the Buddha nature's prevalence, Without understanding Buddha nature, it's very difficult for Vajrayanis to be Vajrayanis. With deities with nose and extra hands, what are they going to do? These are Buddha nature with the nose and ears and hands and extra legs, So these are wisdom deities. We call wisdom deities. There are no deity out there. They are wisdom manifested in the form of deity so that people can actually see them with nose and ears and then relate to them, and ultimately in order to cause the dispensation of their nurturing of Buddha nature. Even all the Vajrayana practices is a skillful method to bring up the Buddha nature in themselves. Why we can have pure perception of mandalas and deities, and if you have the understanding of the Buddha nature, then you are much better in doing Vajrayana practices. Seeing all beings as mother is secondary. Seeing everybody as a Buddha is amazing, primary. Better to see all Buddha is much better than seeing all as your ailing, frail mothers. And who you couldn't repay their kindness enough, and you have a huge lot of work to do. If you have the ability to see everybody Buddha nature, no matter how differently they appear, and if you're empowered in Vajrayana, then you can really use the teachings. When bodhicitta is cultivated, some people think I'm superior. But the person who has heard Buddha nature will, when they have cultivated Buddha nature, would not say I'm superior than to the other. I'm being able to see the good in others that is in me. So you do not see myself superior, others as inferior. You do not indulge and discriminate against those who have not cultivated Buddha nature. No one who thinks in this way will give rise to right understanding. Yeah. So that's why the demerit of the lack of having, Lord not having heard and understood and comprehended the profound vision of Buddha nature. Why Asanga has to write 167 verses? Out of which maybe 30 verses, maybe other things, but the rest is all about Buddha nature. All these 9 analogies we went through again and again is so that we do not think this way. No one who thinks in this way will give rise to right understanding. So we are trying not to think that way. Yeah. Therefore, clinging incorrect view, yeah, will not see the true meaning. That's why you couldn't see the truth. That was you don't have awareness of emptiness. Because one has the disadvantage of clinging to incorrect views as correct views. And they don't see the truth. Because they are completely wrongly misguided by their own wrong views. Why? Because they haven't given rise to Buddha nature. Being artificial and adventitious. So we're talking about it. That all things that we see are artificial. Artificial means concocted. They are mainly fabricated by our own mind, our delusions, our thoughts. So they all make yourself believe. You make yourself believe that you are harmed, you are a victim. You know. And adventitious. Even the condition is very, very, adventitious. Faults of sentient beings are not truly existing. Yeah, they're very good. So when you see someone's faults, that's just artificiality of it. True friendship to somebody who you know, you will not be tainted by artificiality or adventitious nature of it, because their faults are not truly existing. Their faults are not truly existing. In reality, these faults do not exist as self. Yeah, the faults of someone doing or actions or afflictions, and are not the self. They're just adventitious things. They're just temporary. They are just momentary, but exist as qualities by nature pure. Yeah. But actually, they're just deception. What you see, actually is what they're manifesting is that exist the qualities that is by nature pure. Only the surface is adventitiously covered, and so you are able to think like this. If you see some difficulties, you see, this is just adventitious. And sentient beings, sentient beings and their faults are not truly existing. Even sentient beings don't truly exist, let alone their faults. You can't say you're too tall when the sentient being doesn't exist. You can't say sentient beings you're too noisy because the sentient being doesn't. Sentient being doesn't truly exist. How could their faults be truly existing? It's very kind to each other, It doesn't mean there is no relative problems, we are not saying there is no problem. We're saying there are no problems that truly, independently and inherently exist. Because we think they do, This is people carrying on, and you say, I went for this, I suffered this for 10 years, and people talk about it as they just have been dreaming all these years as it was truly existing. They never heard the teachings, they never heeded to it, and they never applied it. They think it's just some kind of theory. They think it's some kind of philosophy, or it's just a thing you discuss in class. They don't realize these things have to be applied philosophy. Madhyamika is to applied philosophy. When you apply that Madhyamika philosophy, you avoid the two extremes. Middle way means you stop walking in the extreme right or extreme left, come to the middle and get rid of the extreme views, and then you come to that. So it's applied philosophy. And so all these philosophical texts is so that you actually have a love of knowledge, so that you actually use the philosophy so that your mind isn't stagnant in this one wrong view that you yourself are unconscious about. And when you're able to do that, so neither the false nor the sentient being truly exist. But their goodness, or their basic goodness of the Buddha nature quality is always remain pure and intact. So by holding untrue false, this is now talking about the false, still the false of that. If you don't realize Buddha nature, you still suffer in samsara. You create samsara, you suffer sufferings, even though they are just illusion that you think that's true. You think, my suffering, you have no idea. Do you want me to talk about it? As if they are so truly existing stories, not the narrative of the deluded one. They don't know how to tell the story differently, no? Because they haven't had a head wash, They're still covered in the dust. They didn't want to wash those views and perceptions and feelings and emotions. They are aggregated into that. We all suffer the aggregates and thinking that's me, that's mine. I, me, mine, aggregates. This is the whole thing. So it blocks the whole view of the reality. By holding untrue false and disparaging the true qualities, so that's what is happening. And when you are disparaging somebody, or when you're angry at someone, or whatever, even say yourself, then you are disparaging your true qualities. One will not obtain loving kindness of the wise. You may develop the attachment of the foolish. You may get the possessiveness of the deluded one, or aversion that you want to get rid of and go away from someone as that's the best thing you can do. The loving kindness of wise isn't that. Loving kindness is not harboring ill will or opposing or running away from your responsibility. The loving kindness of the wise you will fail to cultivate if you are subject to this, which sees the equality of self and others. If you have loving kindness of the wise, you will put yourself in others' shoes before you think, form opinion, and do anything to it. When you have the ability to put yourself in their shoes, that means you are able to see they are just as you as they are you. They don't want to be treated this way as you do want to be treated by somebody. It's say if you were in their position and they are gonna do that, what you're doing to them, what would you do? The one who has the loving kindness wise will see, I cannot do this to them or to him because I can see myself in their shoes. Then the empathy and humility will empower you to not disparage them and their lack of qualities or existence of problems or whatever. You see them as all dreams, remember? Apparitions. And you do not have to take actions to dreams, because the actions themselves are dreams. So why can you can't erase dream by dream. You just have to know dreams are dreams. So this is talking about the fault of not realizing, not having Buddha nature, will prevent you from getting the loving kindness of the wise. We might have the attachment of the foolish. We might have the craving of the foolish. Wanting this for me is the foolish. But you don't have the loving kindness of the wise. He let go. Well, loving kindness of the wise empowers you to accept, let go, be patient, be generous, be unconditionally be patient that you never practiced before. When you have the loving kindness of wise, you will practice compassion out of loving kindness, patience out of loving kindness of wise, because you have the Buddha, access to Buddha nature. But one will not, because if you're deprived of the Buddha nature, then you will be not be able to do this. So now we're talking about the changing the subject. Now the benefit of hearing the Buddha nature, after hearing thus, meaning after hearing all these 165 verses, joy, devotion towards Buddha, wisdom, primordial wisdom, and great love will be generated. Now, this is now talking about the 5 qualities. 5 hindrances will be removed by hearing the Buddha nature. 5 qualities will be cultivated. The first is the joy. Joy is the conception of bodhicitta. Is the joy. Conception of the bodhicitta. That you actually have now comprehended what bodhicitta constitutes. You will restitute. You will experience restitution in yourself. That's the joy. The joy they're talking about. Yeah. And you will realize the wisdom of selflessness of yourself. Yeah. Selflessness of person. Yeah. First of the two. The wisdom, yeah. Third, second one is devotion to the Buddha. Previously, you had some devotion towards the Buddha, but wait until you have found the joy of conceiving bodhicitta. Then your devotion to the Buddha will double. There is no distance between you and the Buddha for 2,500 years. There is amazing, as close, as intimately as Buddha was alive. Yeah. You can see the liveliness of the Dharma, liveliness of the Buddha in the teaching. Because it wakes you up from the slumber. Devotion towards Buddha is not the culture one, that what you do periodically. Sure, maybe you do bow down before the Buddha, you put some flowers and change the offerings each day and so on. But there's amazing quality with which you do with great care. So where you do it, how you do it, it's the devotion towards the Buddha is enormous. So you will see this boosting of the Buddha and devotion towards Buddha, and then the wisdom of realization of self, as I mentioned, and then fourth one is primordial wisdom. This primordial wisdom refers to the primordial means witnessing or gaining the sight of the existence of the primordial wisdom and the Tathagata Garbha in all sentient beings. You see? One thing is you seeing emptiness of you, another is seeing Buddha nature in the other. Amazing. This is a primordial wisdom. And great love will be generated. Yeah, then you will generate the loving kindness towards others as if they are you, as you are them. You are them. So that's then it says the generating the 5 qualities. So this is the fourth line, which is actually goes to the next. Generating the 5 qualities. These 5 qualities, just we have numbered them. In Tibetan, they never get numbered. By the way, they never number these numbers. So when you look in the commentary, you realize you can do that. If you look at other translations, they never number these things. They jumbled up sometimes. They got back to front and orders wrong and all. Because some of the translators who haven't read Tibetan, they translate what rhymes or whatever. But not realizing they have the sequence. You have to have first the joy. You have to have the joy of conception of bodhicitta. And not joy of saying, I got precious human rebirth, or I have lovely parents, or I have very nice Dharma friends. Not that kind of joy. I'm sure they are very important. We are not dismissing them or trivializing them. But joy of conceiving bodhicitta. Like a girl who wanted to fall pregnant. If she felt pregnant, she'd tell her mother, "Mom, I'm pregnant." Now you tell everybody, "Friend, I'm pregnant." With bodhicitta. Very good. Yeah, you have conceptional. You experience the conceptional bodhicitta. That's the joy of no comparison, okay? This joy will never dwindle into sadness or loss. You can never lose this. You can never misplace the joy of conceiving bodhicitta. This is the word of joy. And then your devotion to the Buddha is not cultural. Not tradition, not just things people do as a result of the tradition. It's just unconditional devotion toward the Buddha, And therefore, people have devotion. They're very, very positive. They're very happy in the practice. If they lose their devotion, they usually make the devotion wrong place. They put devotion at deluded sentient beings. They have no devotion to Buddha or bodhicitta. So, if you have bodhicitta and devotion to Buddha, you will develop the bodhicitta towards any sentient being, no matter what they are. Isn't it? So, the sequence, joy, devotion towards Buddha, and then devotion towards Buddha empowers you to realize selflessness of person. Like the Buddha's teaching, always pointing them to you. And this therefore empowers you to see the existence of Tathagata Garbha primarily in every sentient being. That's its primordial wisdom. And of course, then you will have the great loving kindness towards all sentient beings, whether they are nice to you or exactly opposite towards you. Maybe even better, they are really aggressive to you or they're disrespectful to you. You still have the same loving kindness to them as much as you would have. Now, if your practice is progressing, this is talking about the real benefit, yeah. So so you can meditate and see whether you're conceiving Buddha nature or not, bodhicitta or not. If you're conceiving bodhicitta, even you're doing sadhana, you try to conceive the bodhicitta. You're not doing sadhana. You're doing sadhana to have bodhicitta. You're not doing bodhicitta so that you can visualize a big-nosed deity. Who cares if you don't see the big-nosed deity if you have bodhicitta? If you have visualization very poor, don't you worry, I tell you. Even the deities are so that you can remember bodhicitta. All the things that those your majority have Vajra or what, you see the deities, all these various hand implements, they're all to take the sufferings of other sentient beings, to give the loving kindness to sentient beings. Why we want to have skull cups with all these things? So that we can take the sufferings that people think that truly exist when we know they're empty of a true existence. Because it's in the skull, which represents emptiness. Now I'm saying some things usually people wouldn't say. Saying it's Vajrayana stuff. Well, I don't think there's anything about special Vajrayana if you don't have bodhicitta. If you have bodhicitta, definitely all the code of Vajrayana is profoundly useful way to conceal it from untoward situations, and you keep them to yourself. So therefore, generating these 5 qualities, now you have to assess in your meditation. You meditate every day, you do study. You should check whether how much joy you are generating. It's no matter what you lost, no matter how sick you are, this joy will not diminish. We are praying, may all beings have a happiness that does not turn into suffering. Talking about joy of discovering bodhicitta and feeling the bodhicitta and feeling to the brim full of bodhicitta. If your heart is like a pot, just brim full, not just miserable at the bottom, just brim full of joyful, It's just no matter what things go wrong, it does not taint your morale, does not affect you, does not make you to whinge, and does not make you to cry. Useless cry. Why cry so much for nothing? Now you can cry with bodhicitta. And most bodhisattvas have no dry eyes, but with the right reasons. Not self-pitying, by discovery of bodhicitta, This is the joy they're talking about. It's similar to gain freedom from all imperfections. Yeah, when you discover these five benefits, it's almost similar to freedom from all imperfections, whatever imperfections in your life you might have. Yeah? People have lots of difficulties, Maybe they have physical, verbal, emotional problems, but all of them will be healed. This is similar to imperfections. Due to the absence of faults, due to the absence of the five faults we talked about, five imperfections, the presence of these five qualities. Now, see, summing up. See, Asanga is now summing up, summing up everything what he said. Now we talked about the benefits of hearing Buddha nature, demerits of not hearing, and talking about what are the five qualities, what are the faults, five faults will eliminate it, due to the absence of the five faults and presence of the five qualities, loving kindness and equality of oneself and sentient beings, Buddhahood will be swiftly attained. Yeah. Buddhahood means it's not that you have to go under a tree, and test yourself in Bodh Gaya. It's not like that. There will be a shifting of your mind, your understanding of truth of suffering and origin of suffering, and how to end them and follow the path in your practice. Then you will experience this, because you're able to see that all sentient beings, despite that conventional mundane differences, they all are equal, as good as you are. Because of that, there is amazing brotherhood and sisterhood and sameness and universal pure perception. See, it is crucial for Vajrayanis to know Buddha nature. It's not for philosophy we teach Buddha nature. It is so that people boost their good heart in everyday life, so that we practice Buddha nature, so that we are able to therefore witness and project that to other sentient beings. When you truly have conceived your Buddha nature, you will perceive that on others, because as within, so without, they call it. You only see in others what you are thinking of yourself. When you're insecure, when you feel unloved, when you feel you need these, you would not get any of that. No matter where you go, who you are with, what you do, is still there, still this hollow, big hole. But you got to be filled with the brim filled with the loving kindness and bodhicitta in you. And every single prayer or meditation you should always remember, it is for the conception of bodhicitta that you are doing. Conception is conception, meaning falling pregnant. And you must give birth of the Buddha in you. That's what they say in the bodhicitta prayers. Today I'm born as a child of the Buddha. Meaning you have now, you are born in you have two rebirths in one life. You don't have to believe in the future one. You are reborn through in your meditation. Truly there was a restoration of your goodness. Truly you have conceived bodhicitta. As a today I'm born in the race of the Buddha, so that I will will sully this or soil this. But I must vow and renew my vow to practice bodhicitta for the sake of all sentient beings, by regarding all sentient beings as my guest, and I shall serve, I shall help willingly and happily and joyously. Because you have the joy. Everything you do is expression of the bodhicitta, devotion to the Buddha, wisdom of practicing selflessness, and incredible universal loving kindness to all sentient beings. So these things are all mushrooms in your practice. Of course, Buddhahood will be swiftly attained. You will see some kind of a shifting of your mind and feeling and how you look at past or how you look at that story. All different. It's just all changed. Awaken Buddhahood means your perception, deluded perception, dualistic perception is nullified. You don't know how to talk in deluded perceptions. You've done it so much and no use. And you just don't want to go there. And now you know how to walk or stay in that state of mind. So this then concludes the first chapter. So we're coming to the end. First chapter, which is the essence of the enlightened one. Tathagata Garbha. The Sanskrit is Tathagata Garbha. I think you should learn a few Sanskrit terminology. Tathagata Garbha. Also some people say Sugata Garbha. So doesn't mean... Garbha means womb. Actually, Garbha actually means womb. Womb of enlightenment. Yeah, bodhicitta, you have to have a womb to give birth to bodhicitta. And so that is, you have the Buddha nature is the womb. Everybody is fertile womb. Everybody is fertile mother. And they just have to seed it. They just have to seed it, cultivate it, Buddha nature. An analysis on the disposition. So this is the disposition. This is the supreme continuum. Your mental disposition. Your disposition. Rare excellence. Rare excellence is the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Then you will gain that three rare excellence. Rare because Buddha is rare, Dharma is rare, Sangha is rare, and they're excellent on each other. Of the supreme continuum of the great vehicle. Yeah, so that's called the Uttaratantra Mahayana Uttaratantra Shastra. Uttaratantra. So it's in Indian writings. They never give the name of the title on the top of the title. They always say the name of the title at the end of the title. so they usually end the title there. Anyway, so of course we have gone through from the very beginning, calling these the four Vajra points we have finished. So the Uttaratantra Shastra is divided into 4 chapters. The first chapter constitute the first 4 Buddha Vajra points, and then the remaining second, third, and fourth are 3 remaining Vajra points. Yeah, enlightenment, qualities, activities. So this gives the next chapter we will go through next week is the enlightenment. How you achieve enlightenment. What are the qualities of enlightenment? What is enlightenment? And then the next chapter is qualities. Then it gives all the qualities of the Buddhahood. From physical qualities, 112 marks, 80 major marks, 32 major marks and 80 minor marks, as well as quality of speech, quality of mind, all are listed. And then the next one is activities, Buddha activities. And these are all Buddha activities. We're talking about Buddha activities. We are not talking about Dharma. We can't talk Buddha. I can't talk Dharma. It's the Buddha activities. It's the activity of the Buddha that is manifesting in this interdependent origination. So the 4th chapter is Buddha activities. Buddha activity is the duration of the 5,000 years is said to be when Buddha activity will not wane. Probably it's not waxing very much. This now here, kalpa-wise, because if you say this 2,600, we're talking about right in the middle of the era of the Dharma for 5,000 years. So probably we plateaued it, and then of course it is degenerate time. Degenerate time means it's slowly going downhill, collectively speaking. But still, this reason is people who learn Dharma are so few. The centers are small. They're all dependent on few volunteers. And they have to have this amazing conception of bodhicitta to keep it going. And very, very few has the comprehension of the Dharma to do that. So you can see already the waning. They're already complaining in the Tibetan community. There's so few wanted to go to the monastery and become monks because so distracted. Want to go to colleges, wanted to study this, want to study all these colorful subjects, and they don't want to do the study. So it's very difficult. You can see. So the era of Dharma is not waxing. It's now definitely slowly degenerating because people, their lifespan, their affliction, their activities are all degenerating. They're more critical than devotion. When it comes to devotion, very hesitant. When they want to be critical, they all want to be critical. How can you keep going? Even in a home, even in a small unit of a family, they're all critical of each other. They're not kind towards each other. No matter how much more, even if they earn 6-digit or 7-digit, so what? That's just a number. No quality of kindness, no quality of compassion increasing. Very, very individualistic, very selfish, very short-sighted, very easy to become happy, just as easy to become upset. This shows some childish. There's no sign of any growth in being able to tolerate the difficulties. So you don't become so upset so easily, difficulties. You don't become so cheered up by smallest things. I like it. Oh, this is so nice. But small things. Those who have conception about this Buddha nature will be very rare, find. And that's why it's called rare excellence. Rare, very, very rare. Very, very rare. Anyway, so we have now concluded. Just good fortune to read through and listen, think, very good karma already. And the more we are acquainted and familiarized with this concept, we'll think about we will try to conceive, and within the framework of the immutable, universalized nature of the Buddha nature and all sentient beings, and we try to open our eyes and look and see and witness all that. As mindfully as any form of meditation we do, we try to stay present to be able to think with that kind of sight in our mind. So with this, we will conclude, everyone. Thank you for your wonderful attention. So let's do the dedication of merits. For many sentient beings are not quite fortunate. Not only they have no dharma, but they don't even have time to stay free, sleep freely in peaceful world. They are always ravaged by many kind of sufferings, collective and some of them are regional, some they are country-based, some these are regional-based, but yet we all know how much the suffering there is in the world. So we have very, very good reason to pray and dedicate. May they all come to realize each other's kindness and goodness and be nice to each other rather than being so rude and difficult to each other, so senseless to do the things people do towards each other. Mahayana Jija Vadeva Merera Meobevegadalas Choedak Mahayana Jija Kareja Manjushinyavode Asama Tabadharila follow all there's a Ashadega where has been booming freely without interruption. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.